Hello guys, let's talk about HTML responsive web design. Responsive web design is about creating web pages that will look good on all devices. We can also say that it is a responsive web design will automatically adjust for different screen sizes and viewports. Okay, so it is about using your HTML and CSS code to automatically resize or enlarge a web page so that it may look good on all devices like desktops, tablets, and phones. So the first thing when you want to have a responsive web design is that you need to put this meta element here. And in meta element, the name will be viewport, and then the content will be this value that we have here. So when you do that, this line of code here is going to set the viewport of your page, which will give the browser instructions on how to control the page's dimensions and scale it. Okay, so in order to see the effect of this particular line of code, the meta viewport here, you can open your website or your web page on a tablet or on a phone that will give you the correct understanding so that you can see the effect. Okay, so you have to do the meta here. You have to add that meta element with the name viewport and the content, uh, specifying how your web page needs to behave depending on the screen size, depending on the device on which it is being read. Let's talk about responsive images. Okay, so when you talk about responsive web design, we also need to talk about responsive images. So responsive images are images that can scale nicely to fit any browser size. Okay, so one way to do that is to use the width property, the CSS width property. So let's say, for example, that we are adding an image on this our web page. Let me say source like this, and we can just add alt for alternate text, and we will say source. We can copy the address of this image, particularly paste it here, and then we will have this image. So without using the width property, you can see that for us to have a look at the whole image, we have to scroll to the right here and to scroll down here to see the other portions of the image. So we want this particular image to be responsive. When I decrease, you see the image is not occupying, the screen, but we have to scroll in order to have a look at the whole image. So if you want this image to be responsive, we can use the CSS width property and set it to 100%. And that particular image will be responsive and scale up and down. So let's just do that. In here, in my IMG element, I'm going to say style equals double quotes, and then inside here, I'm going to write my width CSS property. So say width, we say 100%. So when we say 100%, now you can see the image is going to fit in the size of our web page. Okay, so even when I decrease the size, now you can see that the image will still scale up according to the size of the screen. You see, it is scaling up. If I increase, it will still scale. So I will not need to scroll down, right or left, or scroll up and down in order to have a look at the whole image. But it's going to fit so that I can see it totally on the screen. So that's how you can do that. Okay, so as you can notice that in this our example, the image can scale up to be larger than its original size. So a better solution in this case will be to use the max width property instead, um, because if we use the width as we are doing right now, The problem is going to be that the image can scale up to be larger than its original size, as I was saying. Okay, maybe its original size was smaller than the screen size, so if you it scales up, it will, stretch, and the quality of the image will not be the same. So that's why instead of using the width, the CSS property width here, we can use another CSS property which is max width and set it to 100. Okay, so if instead of saying width like this, we use max hyphen width and set it to 100% like this, you can see that the image will scale down if it has to, but it will never scale up to be larger than its original size. Okay, so if we had a smaller image, it will scale down, but it will not scale up, to the point of going beyond or scale up to be larger than its original size. So that's the use of the max width here. Yes, so that's how you can have your image being responsive. So it's recommended to use the max width if you need to have better quality images on your web page. Let's now talk about how you can do to show different images depending on your browser size or your browser width. Okay, so in order to do that, we will use the, um, the element, the HTML element picture. Okay, so the picture element, so I'm going to come here and say picture like this. Let me close the element. Yes. So this particular HTML element is going to allow you to define different images for different browser window sizes. So when you resize the browser window to see how the image below, we are going to add some images here so that when we resize our browser window, we will have we will see how the image will change depending on the size of the browser. So in the picture here, I'm going to put this image inside, and what I'm going to add here, I'm going to add source like this, src set equals, and then here I need to specify the dimension, so media equals double quotes inside the brackets, so max width will be 60 pixels like this, and close that. I'm going to copy this, paste it down here, and here the max width will be 1000, okay, 1500 pixels. Now I need to specify the source of the images. As for the first image here, I'm simply going to copy this very same, okay, and paste it here. So when the size is smaller like this, we have this image. And then when we increase, let me take another image, maybe this one. I'm going to copy the URL and paste it here. So what we are simply saying here is that when we increase the size of the window, we need to change the image that we show. Now you can see when we increase, we have a different image. When we decrease the size, we have this image showing. When we increase, yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. When you resize your browser window to see the image, um, you will see that the image will change depending on the size of your browser. And you do that by using the picture element. So this is going to be the image by default. And then here you can specify what image you want to show depending on the width of your browser of your web page. Okay. We can also have, when we talk about responsive web design, we can also talk about responsive text size. Okay. So I can remove this image if you want. This part of my code, I'm going to remove that. And we are going to talk about responsive text sizes. So the text size can be set using the viewport width unit. Okay. And the way the text will, so by doing that, we are going to kind of specify the way the text size is going to kind of follow the browser window. Okay, that's what we are going to do. For example, here we have our H2. If we say style equals maybe font size, maybe 15 viewport width like this. Okay, so now when you do that, you will see that the no, instead of saying width like this, it's VW. Okay, yeah. So now, as you can see, the size of the header will depend on the screen size. So when you decrease here, you see that the size of the heading is also decreasing. When you increase, the size will also increase. Simply because we've used the viewport width unit here. Okay, so by using that, it's going to um, it's going to determine the size that the text will have depending on the width of the browser window. So that's basically that. Okay, and that's it. Another thing that we can talk about when we talk about responsive web design is media queries. So, okay, in addition to you being able to resize your text and images, it is also common to use media queries in responsive web pages. Because with media queries, you can define completely different styles for different browser sizes. Okay, and we are going to take an example. Okay, and in this particular example, we are going to design a web page that will allow us to resize the browser window in order to see that we have three div elements that will display horizontally on a large screen, and it will stack vertically on a smaller screen. And that's what we are going to do here. So in order to do that, so make sure that you have your meta and viewpoint set like this. And then we are going to write our CSS, our HTML first. So let me come here. This is our paragraph. Maybe I'm going to reduce a little bit of text here. If I do it like this, and then here, I'm going to say div. It's going to have a class of, this is going to be the left side, underscore side, like this. And then close the div. Here, we will say paragraph. This is going to be used for displaying the text. So paragraph, and I'm going to say left side. Okay. Okay, and we are going to copy that. So we need to have left, right, and then the center. Okay, so here we can call it center, or maybe main underscore section, maybe. And in here we can say main section. And then we can say right side like this, and the text will say right side as well. So this is for our HTML part of the code. So now let's talk about how we can add some CSS properties so that, as I was explaining to you in this our example, when we are going to resize the browser window to see the three divs here, these div elements are going to display horizontally on a larger screen. So if we increase like this, it's going to show horizontally. And but if we reduce the size of the screen here, the divs will have to show vertically on a smaller screen. So that's basically what we are trying to do here. And we are going to use CSS to do that. So I'm going to come in the head section of my HTML document. I would say style like this. And in this document, I'm going to start with the left side class. So I'm going to say left underscore side. In here, I will give it a background color. Background color, I'm going to give it some color. Um, Maybe 00 FE FF semicolon like this. Okay, so this is going to be the color. I can say pattern 20 pixels, and I will say float. So since this is left, so we say float left. We want it to float left. All right, like this. And then we can set its width in percentages. So this will be 20% width. Okay. Once we've done that, we can also look at the next class, which is main section here. So main section, we say that main underscore section. We are definitely going to use the same CSS properties, but I'm simply going to change the values. So here for the color, I'm going to say like this. Okay, so this is going to be the color. The padding, we'll leave it to 20 pixels. Float, I will also say that it needs to float left as well. And then as for the width, I want it to be a little bit more bigger. Yes, so I would say 60%. Okay, you know what we are going to do next? We will style the right side. Okay, so right side, because that is the third class that we have here, right side. Okay, so as for the right side, we will say we will change the color like this. Let me maybe, yes. So that is going to be the color like that. All right. And then we can say that, okay, for all the elements, we will say like this. Okay, box sizing, colon, border, box. Yes, so now if we do it like this, now you can see how this will show on a screen. Yes. And now, once we've done that, we can now use media query to add some breakpoint. Okay. So once this is done, what else can we do? We will come down here and say this at media screen and max width 80 pixel like this. So we say left, comma, this is left side. Okay, comma, that main underscore section, comma, that right side. Okay, and then we'll say width 100% like this. So if you do that, now you can see that if we decrease the size of the window, you see the sections here are going to show vertically. But if I increase that, now they are showing horizontally. So this is how you can use media query to actually work with your the various elements of your table or of your web page. Sorry. All right. So this is something that you can actually work with. So this is just an example. If you want, we can take another example before finishing. Like for example, we are going to design a particular web page. But this one, we are going to do that in another video. As for this one, we can stop here. So this is how you can work with your web if you want to design a responsive web page. I'm going to make another video where we're going to take an example of a responsive web page. Okay, so let's meet in the next video. If you found this video useful, feel free to like it and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's meet in the next video.